Solana has very much defied the odds and went from ridiculous lows down at like $20, even lower than that, more than 10 times higher toward $125. And the question now is, how much higher can this thing go? Are we looking at a massive retracement down, or is this thing going to be able to rocket up toward its all-time high? Because one of the key things to actually keep in mind for the Solana chart, if we take a look at it on a very long-term perspective now, is on an exponential level, we're not actually that far away from Solana's all-time high. You know, one of the key things that I think people really tend to miss with markets like this, and unfortunately I'm just the guy that tells you what's going on like it's real, you know, the biggest money is always made if you've got the biggest balls, yeah? That's pretty obvious. And you know, I mean, if you look at, and we can actually throw this on the logarithmic, it'll be so obvious. If you look at the lows that Solana set, you know, since the very, very, very beginning of this year, up to the highs, Solana managed to rise up by 1,300%. Okay, so that's a 14 times gain. That's a 1-4 times gain, and that's absolutely huge. But the difference between its current price now and its all-time high is 124%. So that's a 2.2 times gain, much smaller, right? And that's the thing, is the majority of the money has already been made now, and this is where the atmosphere really thickens. This is another thing that's really important. You see, Solana was able to rocket past this price level right here, sitting at about $40 to $45, right up to this one over here, sitting at about $80, because on the way up and on the way down, and these were the only two instances of price history Solana ever had in this price range, there was no resistance that Solana formed on the way up, and there was no support on the way down. Take a look at this a little bit closer, and I'm actually going to go ahead and change this because I don't want the arrow here because it gets a little bit confusing. You know, if we take a zoomed in look at what's actually going on over here, this is a really, really important thing to take into account. Now, on the way up on the daily time frame here, no chance at all for the bears to sell any Solana and see the price drop down. There was a very, very small drop here. There was some support that we found back in 2022, but then on the way down, it was just a straight leg down, right? And these are the best ranges to trade in by far in any market. It's the number one thing that I teach about. It's the number one thing that I aim to trade, and it's one of the key reasons that I was able to pull off the massive profits I've made in this market throughout the course of 2023. It's because I'm always going for these kind of setups. They're always the ones that make me the most money. Here's 1,000% profit that I made on Bitcoin, going long at 21K. Very, very similar idea. Obviously, super, super cool. Pulled over 200K right there. Another trade on Link following similar principles, and another trade on Tron following similar principles, all of them in really, really nice profit numbers. But the thing about Solana now is we could be seeing some more really big opportunities, maybe even to the downside. I want to discuss them with you as we continue on in this video. But the first key thing I want to highlight before we continue is Bybit is offering you a free $500 position on Solana. You can either go long or short using the link that I've put in the description for you guys down below, where you are going to get a completely free position. So your choice, you fucking YOLO that, whichever direction you want to throw it in, but you are going to get a free $500 position with Bybit if you sign up and start trading using my link down below, along with all the other super, super cool opportunities that are available to you guys with the links in the description down below. You've got over 190K in bonuses. Super, super cool. CoinW and BingX are great no KYC alternatives to Bybit, and CoinW will also give you free money to trade any coin you like, and you don't even need to deposit anything. You just need to open a futures account using my link, and you're going to be able to trade these things. So definitely check them out if you like the idea of all of this free cash. By the way, that free $50, you can get the same $500 position on Solana. You just leverage this up by 10x, and you've got the same, you know, the same offer that Bybit is giving you. So super, super cool. Well worth checking them both out, especially with you know, the CoinW offer, because you don't even need to make a deposit or KYC. So really, really cool indeed over there. Now, if we do come back to the Solana chart and talk about where these opportunities might be, we can first of all see that it was a relatively easy ride up for Solana. It did take a little bit of time, 40 days up, compared to, you know, previously it only took about 13, right? So it did get a little bit slower, but on the whole, I mean, there was no retracement. Solana just paused a little bit and then continued and then paused a little bit. And we're in one of these, you know, potential pausing phases right now, which is where things are starting to get very, very interesting, because again, like I said, the atmosphere has potentially started to thicken up here. This is really important. We can actually visualize this very clearly if we look at things like the VPVR, because it helps us see where volume is exchanged on the chart. And, you know, admittedly, it's not the best display because there's so much volume down here compared to the volume up here. But one of the ways we can actually work around that is by throwing on the fixed range volume profile, which is a tool on TradingView that allows you to look at the same thing but within a fixed range, not for the entire chart. And you can really start to see that there are some key areas on this price chart here that really stick out where a lot of volume is traded. We didn't quite hit this one up here at about $135, you know, but there are some other important levels that we can definitely start to pay attention to. Here's another one sitting at about 160, absolutely beautiful. Here's another one that we've already passed, sitting at about 115 that we are more or less at right now. You know, these are some key areas from the price history before that you can start to see we've got some reversal action taking place, some consolidation. You know, there's clear consolidation and reversal price action happening over here, and of course at this price range as well, specifically with this nice big rejection over here. You know, these are problem areas for Solana, and the thing that a lot of people are going to start to miss now is that we didn't have problem areas for Solana's price chart over the last few months. We didn't have them because we were entering one of those big gaps where, you know, it's like I said, there was no support on the way down and no resistance on the way up. So naturally, you can't really expect to have a problem the next time you enter that range. This is where you start to expect to have problems. How many boxes like these can I draw in this range, right? Precisely 0. And that's why we're seeing such a quick, easy ride up for Solana. I don't know if I can be super positive that it's the same thing now. And a big part of that is because my overarching theory for this market over the last days and weeks is that we have reached a potential top zone. You know, it's something that I've been saying, going massively against the herd, which is completely standard and normal for me. I'm not pulling massive profits like this that most people will never see in their entire lives by agreeing with everybody and by finding, you know, a sense of camaraderie with a bunch of fucking idiots that are part of the 90% that lose their money, you know, getting around in circles, jacking each other off to the same price predictions and getting super happy that we're all in agreement and we're in a community. Fuck no, I'm not that kind of guy. And so that's completely natural to me to be massively against the herd in this way. But if we take a look at crucial metrics like the 4Flies dashboard right here, and by the way, we've now got the halving right here on the 4Flies dashboard, so that's really exciting. You know, we have got a very high rating on the Fear and Greed Index. For some reason, the long and short isn't displaying right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at this on Binance real quick to look at the Binance long and short ratio. You know, and this is all very, very telling information, especially things like the Fear and Greed Index, to show us that, you know, the market is still very, very bullish right now in terms of sentiment and so on, at a time where perhaps it might not make the most sense. Now, let's go ahead and look at this for retail traders. And where are we at right now? We're still majority long. 53% of positions, 53% of accounts are long, you know, which makes 1.14 longs for every short right now on Binance. So, you know, I mean, we're majority bullish right now, both through sentiment and through actual positions at a potential market top. And it's not a surprising market top, you know, and this is the reason that I think the Solana analysis is so important. It's not the kind of thing you want to hear, and quite frankly, that doesn't matter to me. If the markets are looking like they're at macro areas of resistance when they've already risen up by a massive amount without a single pullback, guys, since this 25K level where everybody and their grandmothers were shitting their pants, Bitcoin managed to rise up by 78%, and it did so up to its high within only 84 days and without a single retracement. The biggest retracement that we had was either this or this right here, and they were both tiny. I mean, if we measure them from high to low, this was a 7% drop, and from high to low, this was a 10% drop. I mean, they're really not big retracements for a coin that's actually quite accustomed to pulling off a 30-40% drop, and it would be irresponsible to look at a coin like Solana without taking this context in your mind as well, because otherwise you'd be completely misguided. So, you know, with that in mind, there is potentially some really interesting plays to come with Solana. You could say that the easiest money has been made, but it was ridiculously easy. It doesn't mean the next bit of cash that can be made is too difficult either. And it's all about zooming in and looking at these key price levels. Now, this level right here, this $102 level, I think is one of the very important ones right here. The reason I'm saying that is if we stretch this back and we really examine what happened back in 2022, this was where a lot of reversals actually took place for Solana. We can actually go ahead and replay the chart and zoom in onto a much more intimate time frame. Let's take a look at this here on the 4-hour time frame, and let's see what we're working with. Again, we're just focusing on this this orange box right here. Maybe even push this up a little bit, right? It doesn't really matter. We are starting to see some very, very, very clear reversal price action in this range, and it's actually quite close to where we are right now, because right now we're trading somewhere at around this price range. So some really interesting support that we're about to reach, and one of the key levels that this actually lines up with is Bitcoin's $40,000 level. If Solana were to drop down by another 10% or so, the equivalent drop down for Bitcoin, which would be about 5%, would put Bitcoin back at the 40K level. Now, why am I saying 10% for Solana but 5% for Bitcoin? Well, quite simply, altcoins are going to drop a little bit harder than Bitcoin. Generally speaking, doesn't always happen that way, and right now Bitcoin's dominance is falling, so it doesn't have to go that way. But generally, when things get a little bit more red, when things get a little bit scary, when prices start dropping, we see altcoins drop harder than Bitcoin, and it makes a lot of sense why. I don't really want to go into it. That's pretty obvious. Just smaller markets will react more aggressively to anything, whether it's bullish or bearish. So 10% down for Solana, 5% down for Bitcoin, to me would make a lot of sense at this stage in the market, and it's definitely one of the things that would line up very nicely, because if you're interested in seeing $100 psychological bounce zone for Solana, well, then it's going to be quite reassuring to see that does line up with such an important price level for Bitcoin as well. Now, if that $102 level does not hold and we actually end up dropping significantly lower than that, that's where things could get much more exciting, because the next key level, and really the most important one that I'm seeing for Solana, is going to be this $85 area right here. This is the big bounce zone. This is when Solana first starting setting all-time highs, and it just rocketed above this $45 level. This is exactly where Solana managed to pull back. It was precisely here in this $80 range. When Solana crashed down in 2021, 2022, beginning of 2022, when the markets just really started to tank, this was where the bounces stopped, and they didn't stop in a light way. I mean, this was a 50% reaction rally followed by a 40% reaction rally followed by an 85% reaction rally. I mean, absolutely huge bounces coming off this price level, and this is the best buy area I am seeing for Solana on this chart. I'm actually curious to see. Bam, there we go. Daily EMA ribbon, one of the most reliable indicators I've ever used in my trading career. Also 100% reliable over these last months, has also been very, very useful and lines up with that $80 level perfectly. If we're going to get a bigger drop, and what would this line up for Bitcoin? Probably like 36K. So it lines up really well, and it definitely looks like something Solana could end up working with. Now, on the flip side of this, if you're more bullish, then one of the things you're going to be considering is that, maybe Solana isn't going to get such a deep pullback, and instead it's going to do what it's already been doing, which is that when Solana is going to be gearing up for another rally upward, it's not going to do that by dropping down. It's going to do that by either trading upwards slowly or just trading sideways, right? And that's one of the key things we've already seen in this market, and it's one of the first things I told you about earlier on in this video. When Solana was trending up really nicely, on this occasion here, it just traded sideways, and then it blew up. On this occasion here, it traded upwards slowly, or you could say sideways again, doesn't really matter, and then it continued to blow up. So, right now, if we're going to be doing something like that again, we're probably quite early in that. And by the way, we already did it just a couple of days ago, right? I mean, what was this? Yeah, this was yesterday, my bad. The Christmas pumps, absolutely beautiful. By the way, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of you that are celebrating during this season. We did see some very, very clear, nice upward price action followed by pausing and then another continuation up. So, don't get me wrong. This is a strong trade right now. This is not the kind of thing to jump in front of and, try and snipe and take advantage of. I did have a trade outlined on Solana where I wanted to go short, and I ended up closing it very close to break even at, I think, like 4% loss, something super tiny, because I was in the position and I was like, you know what, this thing is way too fucking strong. I don't want to be in, and I'm glad that I was able to get out, and at the same time, being able to trade these markets with this free cash is something that puts you in a really powerful position right now, because you have all of the upside available to you. You can withdraw the profits that you make with this free money and none of the downside. You only have to meet these conditions that are honestly quite easy to meet anyway. And those of you that don't want to use Bybit for whatever reason, you've also got CoinW as a brilliant alternative, which you get the exact same offer with, and you can actually put that free $50 into anything you like. So it doesn't have to be Solana. You can leverage it any way you like. Super, super cool. You don't even need to make a deposit. So check it out. It's a beautiful no KYC exchange, great flexibility. I've actually met the founder out here in Dubai. Super, super cool, well worth taking advantage of. And then again, back to Solana, if we are looking at that next rise up coming without, a particularly deep pullback, well then, sideways or whatever the fuck it wants to do. But the next key level is going to be, for me, that $140, $135 area where we saw a lot more macro resistance previously, right? I mean, this is where, again, we saw some really nice bounces coming in the market. Take a look at this one right here. Obviously, this bounce was what actually triggered the all-time high, and the price nearly doubled off that one, so that was cool. This was also where we stopped falling down back here in very early 2022, and it's also where that dead cat bounce, that reaction rally happened as well. This was when Bitcoin hit $48,000, so definitely a very, very important level, and it would be that next key area, which honestly wouldn't be such a bad short position in my opinion. I mean, that would be a very interesting place to start looking at some shorts on Solana as well. So again, with a ton of free cash to, trade those things, it's just a zero risk and all of the upside available, which is super cool and good high probability setup there, I think. It would be, the only problem is you can't really set a stop loss particularly easily. That would kind of, be holding me back, but I mean, nothing would be holding me back if I'd be trading for free, because I'd be using someone else's money, so it wouldn't even matter. But and guys, these are big companies, Bybit, CoinW, look, don't get me wrong, I love these guys, but fucking take their money, guys. I mean, they've got it, they're giving it to you, they want your business, and they're willing to spend a lot of money to get it. So take advantage of these offers. They are super, super cool. And so that would be that next kind of crucial area for me. Otherwise, I would be looking to see some nice deeper drops. I do think that overall these markets are due for a correction. I think that, Bitcoin's dominance has fallen in such a way where, and by the way, very interesting chart here. I saw this on Twitter. I can't remember who it was, but if you guys in the comments know, then please do let me know. What is the line? I mean, you can kind of see where I'm going with this, but we're looking at something a little bit like this. Yeah, this was it. A really nice, how long was this? Like a 100-day uptrend, right? Or a 300-day uptrend. Yeah, like a 400-day uptrend, 390 days, and a nice drop below that uptrend line right now. If we zoom out onto the weekly time frame, it's going to look a little bit cleaner. And one of the reasons I really like this is because it first of all shows you how aggressive this rise up has been for Bitcoin. I mean, this is what, like a proper like 45-degree angle, a little bit more potentially, and at the same time, we are now seeing Bitcoin losing a lot of dominance. To me, this is a very, very clear deviation, and it's especially clear because this is a crucial bounce zone for Bitcoin's dominance, according to price history. So, I think that this little altcoin season that we've seen for December has been absolutely spectacular, but please do keep in mind that it's very easy to spin bearish narratives. All it takes is a couple news articles, all it takes is something that's disappointing. I do know that there's, of course, the ETF on the way, and whether that gets approved or not is still, a lot of people are going to act like this is certain, and, generally when it's so obvious with something government related, it does end up going that way, especially in my experience, but it's still not set in stone. So you could still say that that's up for debate, and really anything else. I mean, the narratives in January are very funny. It's like, well, everyone's liquidating crypto for taxation now in January, or whatever. December is the fun month, but January is where things get a little bit more sour, and given how high everything has risen and given how bullish everybody still is, look, I'm not saying that the bull market is over, that this uptrend is over. I don't think it is. I'm still long. So, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and at the same time, I definitely think that we're starting to see one of these positions now where we're a little bit too bullish, a little bit too high, and this Bitcoin dominance chart really tells me everything. If we know that if we know that deviations are the love language of Bitcoin, then to expect that kind of thing happens on Bitcoin's dominance chart is not too far-fetched as well. So if this thing takes another surge upward, that would probably imply, number one, that Bitcoin goes up very aggressively and leaves altcoins behind, or number two, Bitcoin drops very aggressively and people get very scared of holding altcoins. Usually, in situations like this, I would expect number two, not number one. We already saw number one. That's why Bitcoin went up in dominance so much. And by the way, all of these gains you've been seeing in the altcoin market, it just literally all came from these two little drops. So, if Bitcoin's dominance climbs up here and then drops back down, fucking forget about it, mate. That is generational money that you'll be standing to make right there. And you best believe I'm going to be there with you, telling you what I plan on doing in this market as well as things develop. So thank you all for your support on this YouTube video, a dedicated Solana video, something we haven't done in a very, very long time. If you have enjoyed it, do me a favor and smash up the likes and tell me that you loved it in the comment section down below. Make sure you are subscribed and you've checked the bell icon so that you don't miss out on any of the content that I'm putting out, which is very, very time sensitive. I have to go. My phone is blowing up. I will see you guys in my next video on Bitcoin later on today, so you know what to do to stay tuned for that, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers. Bye.